Hello and welcome. I always wonder what kind of introduction to do for Sam because I want to do Sunday, so like I want to go full monster truck sometimes, and then there are other times when I want to be a little bit more classy and be like, hello and welcome to another edition of Nitwitting, Knit Together with Sam Smith. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to everyone here. Everyone's still filing in. Good to see all these faces again. Hello. Let's just make sure we're going to turn on chat here. Yep. Chat. Hello, Ray. Hello. Yep. Howdy, Nancy. Hello. I'm learning howdy here in Texas. I haven't mastered the howdy, but I'm working. Y'all is fine. Howdy, I'm still working on. Hello, Therese, Louise. Yes, and don't forget, if you want to chat with all of your fellow attendees, you can just make sure that when you are in the chat, you can use the everyone toggle. Okay. Sam, how are you?
I'm good. It's a
Good.
sunny Saturday morning. Couldn't be better.
Yay. We're excited for class 3, the culminating moment of your class series of knitting a very fun supernatural themed design. People are coming back from JibCon, they're everywhere. They're all over.
All over the place.
Great to see. But we're excited to get started. Is there anything you wanted to review or announce before we get into the nitty gritty? Make sure everybody's got their materials.
Well, today I was hoping that you would have had this in hand, so your knitted thing still on the last needle. So I was going to, I can review anything you need, but today I was going to go over casting off, how to weave in the ends, how to make the loop for the button, attaching the button, and then you will have your completed thingamajigger. And then
Cozy.
put it on your mug.
So in the audience, is there anything you'd like reviewed before, in addition to that, is there anything you'd like reviewed or anything we need to cover once more before we get started into Sam's portion? I just want to make sure we cover anything that people are wanting to review as well. Yes, I'm working on a pair of socks and came here for the company. Yes, good call, Jennifer. Good call.
Excellent.
Kathy says, I forgot how to cast on. Okay.
Well, Kathy, were you in the first class?
In addition, also, we may be pulling you in to show progress, or if you have questions or need some like technical fine tuning, Sam has agreed to help people on a person by person basis if we can.
Missed the previous class. Oh, that's Jason. Is there a way pattern to get a delayed catch up? You sent out the pattern, yes, Charlie?
We did, yeah. So Jason has signed up for class 3. You know what? I think I may be able to attach. Yeah, I'm going to put it in Drive real quick, and I'll throw the pattern up as a link here in just a moment. But while you guys are reviewing everything, I'll grab that and I can get that done. So I'll leave you to it, Sam, while I get this done for you.
Okay, so Kathy Jenkins said she forgot how to cast on. So if I completely spaced on it with, no, she was not. So I don't know how it works with looking at the past videos with what class, but we can talk about that after. And if at the end we have time, I'm happy to go back over casting on. Okay, so to get your work off the needle, it's called casting off. And what you do is you're going to continue in the pattern that you had. So we were doing seed stitch, which was alternating knitting and purling opposite rows, right? So this last stitch I did was a knit stitch. So when I turn that around, that means the back of it's going to be a purl stitch. So I'm going to purl this first stitch, which, as you remember, is just the backward stabbing of knitting. So you go back, you purl, but you're going to want to leave this row a little looser than you've been doing previously. So that's that. That means the next stitch is going to be a knit stitch. I'm going to do it kind of loosely. Now you've got 2 stitches on the new needle. Hold all these. Take the tip of your needle, slip it under the first stitch. So bypass the most recent stitch, go to the first one on the needle, bring it up, keep the other stitch on the needle and over. So you've now locked it around this stitch. And now you only have one, which means you've cast off your first stitch. So we're going to do that again. I cast off in pattern. So I just purled, then knitted. Now this next stitch will be a purl again. And once again, I will have 2 stitches on the needle. I'm going to go bypass the one closest to the tip, put the tip of the left-hand needle through, lift it up and over, carefully keeping that the other stitch on the needle. And now I've cast off 2 stitches. Okay. Pattern for the wrist warmers. Oh, was I supposed to do that? At some point, I will get those out there. Okay, so continuing. The next stitch is a knit stitch. So I'm knitting. And then I'm doing it on the back so you can see it. Normally, I just cast off on the front. So I would bypass. Here's what it looks like. I would bypass the stitch at the end, go under this, be careful to keep that other stitch on the needle. And now we've cast off 3. So now the next stitch in the pattern is purl. Bypass this first stitch, grab this one, lift it up and over and off the needle. Does that make sense to anyone? You prefer to cast off in pattern or just all knitting? I prefer to cast off in pattern. Doesn't really matter. I think that when you're casting on, you cast on all in knit. So you can cast off all in knit. I like it. It just is easy. But I honestly, I don't think you can really see a difference. Okay. Anyone questions? I'm going to do it again. So my next stitch is a knit stitch. Knit my stitch. Take the point of the needle, skip the first stitch, put through the original stitch, lift it up and over. Now we've cast off however many, I've lost track. Next stitch is a purl. Loose, remember, loose, or you're not going to be able to easily get this up and over. There you go. Now we're back to a knit. Up and over. Just do it slow, nice and careful. Up and over. Oops. Don't panic. Purl. Hopefully, if you're missing it, you can go back and watch it really slow. Okay. Knit. Only 5 more stitches to go. Lift it up and over. Purl. And over. I'm almost out of yarn because I forgot I had to show you how to cast off. So I had cast it off already and cut the yarn. And I put it back on the needle. So I'm doing it again. Okay. So now this is a knit. You can go through the back if you want. Up and over. I find that harder. Up and over. Now it's a purl. And over. Okay, now. Don't panic. The most important, exactly, super important. You can always frog a row, rip it out, and put them back, put the stitches back on a needle and redo it. Okay, so we're at the last stitch. My last stitch is going to be a knit stitch, I think. Yep. No, a purl stitch. Last stitch is a purl stitch. So we're going to put this one up and over, and you're left with 1 stitch on the needle. Okay, just 1. You're going to cut the yarn at about 6 inches away, 6 to 8 inches, and you're going to pull it through. So now you have a tail at the bottom where you started, and a tail at the top where you ended. 2 tails, and your finished work. For some things like sweaters or things that you're going to have pieces that you have to sew together and they have to kind of all match, what you might do is wring this out with water and then lay it flat and pin it to like a towel. That's called blocking, and it will set the size and the shape so that they all match. For this, it doesn't matter. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and she might address them. You can access, yes. In the bottom of the Zoom, there's a Q&A box. Do I have that? Oh, I see that.
Yep, you can look at any Q&A, like people can add to their questions there, and then we can grab it for you.
Okay, I thought it was just in the chat. I learn something new every day. Okay, so now you don't want these things dangling. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your yarn needle, darning needle. I'm not sure what it's called. I call it my sewing needle, but that's not true. It's not for thread. It has a big hole in it, you see, and a rounded point, so you can like get into stitches. And it's just as for weaving in the ends of your yarn. So let's start with the cast off edge that we just had. I find the easiest way to do this is to fold the yarn taut over the needle, pull it kind of taut, and then pinch it. And now you've got a tiny little loop without any end sticking out. And you just stick that loop through the needle, wiggle it through, and then it's threaded. I find that much easier than trying to like get the fuzzy end through. So now the goal is to not have this unravel. So what I usually do for the end like this is if you can see where your stitches go, like this row below, you can see this loop goes around and then down here and then up and around and down here. I just follow it for about 3 or 4 stitches with this. So I'll go down here, whoops, down through that stitch, and then I'll follow that stitch. It goes up through here and around, and then follow this stitch down and around. Most of the time, the truth is it helps to follow the stitch and it just makes it kind of invisible.
Hey Sam, could you do that one more time? It actually,
yeah.
The your name tag was kind of
Whoops, sorry. Okay, so you
more.
have this loose one, and if you can see, darker yarns is a little harder, but if you can just follow the yarn down, it goes through the stitch below and then back up and around. If you can just follow the yarn, the weaving in will be pretty invisible. But the truth is, if you just kind of, as long as you don't just go back and forth or up and down, if you kind of weave it around, especially at the end like this, it'll be pretty hidden. So up, follow this loop around and down. It's a little bit hard to see on here, I know, because my yarn is dark and the light is bright, but you'll see what I mean as you're weaving it in. And because of the way it weaves, it's not going to pull out now. So I try to usually, oops, I pulled the yarn out. I'll put that right back on my needle. I usually, here's what I do at the end. I pull it through a stitch like this. For the last stitch, I pull it just a little bit tight. I snip the yarn pretty close to the stitch. And then I wet my fingers a little and I kind of rough up the end of the yarn. Just make it a little fuzzy so that when I loosen it, I pull it, because I pulled it a little tight, so I can pull it this way. The end kind of slides back into the knitting and it just disappears. But the frayed end helps keep it from just sliding through. And we're going to do the same thing with this end. This end, what I did is on my first row, I knitted both the tail and the yarn together so that it knitted it in a few stitches, and I would just be able to cut this. But I'll show you how to, again, how to weave that in. So you thread the needle, and you just, if you can see, there's a stitch right here. It goes in, around the stitch behind it, then back in through this loop and around. So I'll go in. Sorry, it's hard. I'm so close. I think I'm making it blurry. Around. Boop. Oops, I wanted to come off the needle. Don't panic. Just put it back on the needle. It's fine. And then back in. You'll see as you're doing it. And then here I'm going to do the thing where I pull it a tiny bit taut. You want to do that for 3 or 4 stitches. Snip it. Make sure the ends are just a little rough. And then just put it back in. And now you have no ends. So to make this attached to your mug, you need a button and you need a loop. Buttonholes are not hard, but I didn't do a buttonhole on this. What I chose to do on the finished one, as you can see, is a little loop. So they wanted the original patterns that I've seen for this wanted you to knit on double pointed needles, just 3 stitches and make a tube, which you can do. It's like what you do for a string for a sweatshirt or something. But for what I chose to do, and I think it looks great, is just a braid. So you would take 3 pieces of yarn about 8 or 10 inches long. 1. There are questions. Can we see your, ooh, I like the frayed end idea. I usually use a blunt, bigger needle with a big hole, so I just missed the bent end. The row looks really great, not like the first row. I don't see any questions in the Q&A. Okay, so I'm gonna take this piece I cut, go down and cut 3 pieces that are the same length. So that's 2. And now a 3rd. Take those ends and just tie a little knot just to keep them together. Slide it up so you keep as much yarn as possible. Okay, make it really tight. Okay. You're going to stick this under something heavy, like a mug. Just the end, just the knot so it catches. And just braid the pieces. Just braid them. Doesn't have to be super tight, not too loose so it doesn't slide, but just taut. Just enough, like this tight. Let me see. Just a little, so it doesn't slide around. Does everyone know how to braid? If somebody doesn't know how to braid, I can show you. I'm not sure how I'm going to show you, but I'll try. Okay, so we're just braiding this piece all the way to the end. You're going to have more than you need, but always better to have more than you need than not enough. I sound like Gandalf when I say stuff like that. So keep braiding. We're braiding. We're braiding. And when you get to the end, you are going to tie another knot. No, you're not going to tie another knot yet. Just hold it. Yes, the Gandalf similarities are so many. Here. How's that? Uncanny. Thank you, Charlie. I just need a pipe and a staff. Okay, so I've gotten just about to the end here. You can see. Now you're going to take these 3 pieces, kind of mush them together, and you're going to put those through your needle. That's where like the folding it in half and poking it through really comes in handy, because trying to get all 3 of those fuzzy ends through a needle will age you before your time. Okay, so the way I did it here is I went through the row at the very end. It doesn't matter which end, but centered. So what I would do is I would fold it in half and sort of pinch a spot so that you match, and just poke it through. Just poke it through. About halfway. Okay? And when you open it up, you'll have 2 ends hanging this side and a loop on the other. Now just leave it. Take the needle off, and tie the ends. Tie those ends that you had to poke through the needle. So you'll have a little knot. So this is what it's going to look like now. You've got the knot at the end where you started, the knot at the end where you ended, out the back, and then a loop out the front. On the same side that the loop is on, not where the tails are, where the loop is, we're going to attach a button. So, oh, that's so funny. I thought I picked a different button. I picked the same button as last time. Kristen, this one was for you. I picked it specially because it's got a star on it, because you're a star.
Aw, thanks, Sam.
You're welcome. Okay, so now cut a piece of yarn about 15 inches long, or it can be a little shorter, but be generous with your yarn spendage. Okay, put the yarn back through your threading needle. Now, whoops, I threw it on the floor. Fold your thing and fold your, the loop is out the front, fold it towards the back. So you're on the same side that the loop is. And push the needle through, like go into the fold and push the needle through. Now, here's a problem. My button, the needle won't fit through. It stops right here. So I forget what I did. I think I just made that, like, tried to make the end pointy with my fingers and then shoved it through. I think that's what I did. Can't remember now. Yeah, that's what I did. I just kind of made the ends a tiny bit wet, twisted them really tight, and gently tried to like coax it through the buttonhole. If that doesn't work for you, you could try using a regular needle and thread and taking a little bit of the yarn at a time. I don't think you really need to go through the button more than one time to hold it on there. So here we go. It's through. So if your yarn and needle did through the button, you're great. Did fit through the button, you're great. But otherwise, just put the yarn back on the needle now, and you're going to put the yarn back through the same hole. Not the same hole, sorry, next to the hole. And now we're just gonna attach the button. We're just gonna tie this.
Sam, we also have a question from the audience, and Jason, if you'd like to come on camera and ask it. Jason has.
When knitting in the round, you ever put your project on a tiny lazy Susan for easier unspinach? I have not. Knitting in the round, have you ever put your project on a tiny lazy Susan for easier unspinach? I don't know what that means. So,
like
do you keep the lazy
unraveling.
Susan? Where is he? Does he? If that is directed towards me, no, Thank you. It's super low priority. I just actually interrupted the class. I was just curious. No, you'll have to explain that later. Do you keep the lazy Susan in your lap? I don't know what happens there. Okay. So I guess I had looped the yarn through twice on the original, but I really don't think you need to. So I would tie a knot in the back, just a regular box knot, right over left, left over right. And then what I often do with yarn, because sometimes it wants to be slippery, I will do a slip knot. So just loop around and bring both ends through, and then slide that knot. You see the little loopy knot thing? Slide it all the way down over, like down on top of the other knot. So it's all the way down, and just pull it tight, because that is less likely to slip out than the box knot. But the box knot just kind of holds everything in place there. You see, it's kind of just a slip knot all the way at the bottom. And just pull it tight. And now you can cut this, and they're not gonna come untied. You won't lose your button. Okay. So now back to the loop. 2 reasons I like to do it this way. 1, this is now adjustable. If you decide that now you've got a big fat mug that you want to use later, and this one was for a skinny mug, or vice versa, it'll still fit. So this was my original. And as you can see, this fits around here perfectly. It just kind of goes up and around, grabs the button, and it fits. But if I tried that on this one, it would be too skinny. So put this here, wrap this around. By the way, this cozy is smaller than this one because I measured for a different mug. So I think it's a little smaller. Yeah, it's like an inch shorter. The original was like an inch longer. But the button will also help with being adjustable. So you go like this, and you wrap it around. You make sure that the loop reaches the button. You want to drop the button, the thing, or the mug. So like this, it reaches just fine. Now I'm going to take the strings and pull them a little bit tight so that I know it has a good fit. Hold them where they are so they don't slide off. And now you can tie, this is where it was. Now you can tie this in just a box knot, because if it comes a little undone, it's fine and leaves it adjustable. So I'm going to tie that in a little box knot. Right over left, left over right. When you pull it tight, make sure it's only pulling the strings from the back, not on the loop. So hold the loop where it's supposed to be, and then pull these tight. Now, I'm going to trim off these crazy ends. Just like that. The other ends were already pretty short, so I'm okay with those. So then we can put this on the mug. Remember, the mug's very slippery when this is on there, so be careful. So I just tuck those ends underneath, bring the loop around through the handle, loop it over the button, and voila. I put the button on the side towards me because otherwise it hits my fingers. And that's it. I believe it's called a square knot. What did I call it? Like frogging. A box knot. Oh, is a box knot different? I think boxes are square.
That's sounds like fake news to me.
Now, can you explain how to make tea? We want to see your knitting in progress.
We're gonna do a tea making class next.
Oh, we want. Yes, I was like, I just showed you my knitting, Maud.
Yep. Yeah, so we'd love to. We're gonna resend out the pattern as well, in case you didn't get it before. there's the three-step process. The first two videos are up on our YouTube channel as well, and we put those in chat. We can do that again, but it's such a cute and simple way to get started. Like this is such an easy. The button seemed a little bit more tricky to me, but I feel like
Oh, really?
well,
Does
like
anyone explain the button again, Charlie? Do you know how?
no,
buttons
not this is not me. No, this is for everybody else here. That like, and you can watch it back. The cool thing about YouTube also is that you can set the speed of your video to lower settings so it goes slower. So you can do half time, 3/4 time, and watch as Sam puts her needles in front of her name tag. You know, we can just see that happen. No, you can watch it slowly and you can see her demonstrate it, and that will help you.
that? Just like this?
Yeah, if you can do it like more off camera though.
How about like this? How about right here? Can everyone
That's
see?
also good.
For this?
That not so much. I don't think that would help.
What about like this?
I don't think that's going to work either. But as you can tell, this three-step process, I think now that it's available, we'd love to see what you're doing. So if you have a work in progress or you're completed it, definitely post it and tag us and tag Sam so that we can see. We're putting the pattern. Thank you, Kristen. We're putting the pattern once more in chat here so you can grab it. I am funny, Gabby. Thank you. I try to be funnier than Sam all the time. That's what I do. Perfect knitting angles, Jason. Yes. Does anyone have any questions before we about knitting, about anything that you want to come on camera for real quick before we move on to meet and greets? Anybody have
Is anyone done? Did anyone keep up with their cozy? I'd love to see one or two.
Yeah. Any frankly, I would see any knitting projects. I'm very yes. We have raise your hand. Yes.
Do we have a volunteer?
What's that?
Do we have a volunteer? I've done 6
Yes,
of them.
we do.
Very
So,
addictive. They're great little presents. You could put one in every stocking of everyone you know at Christmas.
If you'd like to come on, just raise your hand. Great. Maud, if you want to grab 1 or 2 people before we adjourn here, we can take a look. And if it's not finished and you need help, also, we can also chat for a brief moment. Cheryl has disappeared into the ether. Oh, again. And there she is.
Look at that. Nice work. Bravo.
Well done.
Nice work, Cheryl. Louise, I can neither hear nor see. You are
There we go.
There you are. Oh, pretty. Look at the stripes. Did you do different yarn or did the yarn just turn out that way?
It's variegated yarn.
Nice.
I modified a couple patterns and I made myself some
The wrist
gloves.
warmers.
Beautiful.
Yeah, little wrist warmers.
Those are cool.
I love it. I love it. That was the happiest tea cozy I've ever seen.
I know. Seriously.
Don't know how I don't know how often I'm gonna use it, but
Never
you have
know.
to hold the handle or the whole thing will slip right out of your hand.
yeah, it was fun.
Good, good.
Excellent.
Love it. Bravo.
Well, these have been so fun, Sam. I feel like you between the 2 sets of class. Look at that. It's very Winchester-y. Let's be honest. It's very like.
Well, it's like the Winchester red, and there is like some sort of a star situation. It's
Nice.
half sheriff, half devil trap, I think.
Exactly. Half Walker, half Hunter, all Winchester.
Ode to Jared.
Yeah, exactly. Ode to Jared. Do you say ode to Jared? Because that sounds awful. That's not.
Ode. ODE.
Okay, not EU. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Not ode. Not water. Jared. No, it's not. It's not Jared perfume. No.
No.
Ode. Ode.
Nope.
An homage. Ode to Jared. No, Jennifer. No.
Oh, Jennifer,
Raise
stop.
hand option.
Stop it. No, now everyone's going, oh no.
Oh no. Both Kristen and Jared would love the pun of all of that.
I just love the pun of all of that. Yep. Oh Lord, we've gotten off track as we do.
Are we ever on track, Charlie? Really?
Listen, ADHD theater is a fun time, you know? This is just what we're here for. You have like a little drum kit in the side there with your needle.
I'm gonna knit my own drum kit.
That's right.
Drum
Karen
lessons. I
is
do
right.
have an
Next up-
actual drum kit in my basement that I need to start working on a little more.
Karen's like, next up, drum lessons with Sam. That, yep,
That would be bad for everybody.
can't wait. Well,
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being
Thank you.
here. Please tag me on Twitter or Instagram so I can see your little projects when they're done, whatever they are. And maybe next up we'll do a reformer one day.
that's really cool. Can't wait. All right. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to be moving on to meet and greets next. So if you're just remain here, if you have a meet and greet, and thank you to everybody else who came and supported. Love to see so many familiar faces and just to see you guys coming back. It's really awesome. We both love it. We love
Thank
hanging
you
out.
so much for being here. I love teaching people to knit because it's not a lost art, but I just think that everyone should know. It's a really good thing for your brain. It's productive. People love handmade things.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tanisa. Appreciate it. And we'll see you soon, hopefully.